Looking to buy a house in Westfield, New Jersey? Well, I'd avoid 657 Boulevard if I were you. Hey, hi, and hello. How is everyone doing? Chris here. Thanks for stopping by. Well, today's story is just a tad bit creepy. Just a friendly reminder, I do use multiple sources when researching stories, and I try to do my best to get the most accurate, factual information. And this story, well, I've seen several different articles with different timelines and different versions of the letters, but nothing so drastic that it would actually change the story. So if I am wrong on any particular fact, I apologize, and let me know in the comment section below. Well, let's get into it. So it is June of 2014, and Maria Broaddus, her husband Derek, and their 3 young children are getting ready to move into their new home, 657 Boulevard, Westfield, New Jersey. Now this home is beautiful. It has 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. It has crown molding, fireplaces everywhere, and it really was their dream home. It also came with a price tag of $1.3 million. Derek and Maria Broaddus worked very hard to get to the point where they could buy a home like this. And this home, it was ideal for their family. It was only a few blocks away from Maria's childhood home, and it was to be known to be a very safe area. 3 days after closing of the sale, and before the family had actually moved in, Derek was there looking at a few things, painting and such. They were going to do a few renovations before fully moving in. And I guess out of habit, while he was there, Derek went out and checked the mailbox. In amongst the typical flyers and such, he found a white envelope. On the outside of the envelope, in big block letters, it said, "The new owner, no return address." Curious, Derek opened up the envelope and started reading the typed letter that was inside. "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. 657 Boulevard has been in the center of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you from the force within? Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood that I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family, or was it greed to bring me your young children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. I asked the woods to bring me young blood, and it looks like they listened. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. You have children. I have seen them. So far, I think that there are 3 that I counted. Are there more on the way? Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows at 657 Boulevard and all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. Welcome, my friends, welcome. Let the party begin." And it was signed in cursive typing, "The Watcher." Now clearly this is not a letter from the Welcome Wagon. Does that company even exist anymore? Anyways, Youngblood, what lies within the walls? What? So creepy. Anyway, Derek was very rattled by this letter, understandably so, And it was after 10 p.m., so he was at the house alone. He ended up running inside, turned off all the lights, and I imagine he did this so no one could see him, and he ended up calling the Westfield police. When the police showed up, the officer looked at the letter and thought it was bizarre. Bizarre? Well, that's an understatement. The officer suggested that maybe it was a hoax or that some nearby kids were just playing a prank. But he did ask Eric if he had any enemies or knew anyone that could do this. When Derek said he had no idea who could have written the letter, the officer told Derek that he would look into it. After talking with his wife, they decided to reach out to the previous owners because in the letter, one particular sentence stood out. I mean, let's be real, there was a lot in that letter that stood out, but one particular letter or one particular sentence stood out. I asked the Woods to bring me young blood, and it looks like they listened. You see, it was John and Andrea Woods that sold them their house. The previous owners said they had never received any kind of letter like that in the 23 years that they had been living there, except once. And it was only a few days before they moved out. The Woods stated that they felt safe, they never felt like they were being watched, and in fact, rarely felt the need to lock their doors. So when they received the letter from the Watcher, they just thought it was odd, and they just threw it out without really much thought. The Woods did agree to go to the police with the Broaddus family and tell them about the letter that they received. The police instructed both couples not to talk about the letters, especially around the neighborhood and to any of the neighbors, as they were all pretty much suspects now. 2 weeks later, so the family was slowly moving in, but because there were still renovations going on, they hadn't really fully moved in yet. Maria was there with the kids, bringing in some boxes from the car and such, and she just happened to swing by the mailbox when she noticed a second letter in there. Now, not taking any chances, Maria called the police, and when the police arrived, they read the letter. Part of the letter read, "Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy. I have been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found out what was in the walls yet? In time they will. I'm pleased to know your names now and the names of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly say their names often. 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since young blood ruled the hallways of the house. I noticed one of your children using an easel. Is she the artist in the family? Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is very far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedroom facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in each bedroom. I can plan better. All of the windows and doors at 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move throughout the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and I have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on, and they kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching." Now, I couldn't find any of the original letters, but what is stated that was extremely disturbing about this one, I mean, let's be real, they're all pretty disturbing, but this letter contained far more details about the family, including their names. Although it was misspelt in the letter, their children's birth order and their children's nicknames Now, it is one thing to get names from public records. I mean, anybody can do a search and find out names and stuff like that. But nicknames? How would the Watcher know the nicknames? Was the Watcher listening? How would they know? Maria was terrified. And the fact that he was really focused on the children made it that much worse. Even in the letter, the Watcher mentioned her daughter. I noticed one of your children using an easel. Is she the artist in the family? So there were tall bushes surrounding the porch, and the only way someone could actually see the easel was to be right beside the house. Okay, totally creepy at this point. They were really starting to feel unsafe at the house. Maria and Derek decided to stop bringing the children to the house. They put a hold on moving in. Several days later, a third letter arrived. Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. The house is crying from the pain that it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You're stealing its history. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed the halls in the 1960s. It was a good time for 657 Boulevard when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, so did my father. But he kept watching it until the day he died, and now I will watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. At this point, I don't even know what I would think if I was getting these letters, but for the Broaddus family, this was really starting to take a toll on them, financially and mentally. Derek was said to be experiencing depression. Maria was suffering from PTSD. So with the investigation on who the Watcher was, it grew cold. There were no trails, there were no fingerprints, no eyewitnesses. But during the investigation, the police did discover some DNA on one of the envelopes, and they were just waiting for the test results to get back. With the investigation pretty much going nowhere, Derek decided to start his own. He started with the neighbors closest to him, the Langfords. Now, the Langfords were a family with roots in the community. Living in the house was the mother, Peggy, and she had several children that were all adults. And they all still live there in the same house. Kind of strange. But anyway, one of the sons stood out the most. His name was Michael Langford. He was 60 years old, and he was described as a recluse, but pretty much harmless. The other neighbors described the Langford family as odd. And while they weren't really an outgoing kind of family, they really just kept to themselves and never really caused any issues. Derek was pretty sure that Michael was the Watcher and had his sights on proving it. Even one point, working with the police, the Broaddus family sent letters to the Langfords, telling them that they were planning on demolishing the house, and they were hoping to get some kind of reaction. There was no response. Nothing from the Watcher, nothing from nowhere. The police had done their due diligence when it came to Michael Langford, and they dismissed him as a suspect. Also, when the DNA results came back, they couldn't find a match, and it showed that whoever was sending the letters was a female. When the letters didn't stop, and with no leads from the police, Derek decided to hire his own private investigator. The PI started digging up information on nearby neighbors, maybe other people that may have been interested in buying the house. And the PI was looking at the possibility that maybe the letters were written out of jealousy or something. The PI was really looking at every possible scenario. All leads, all investigation turned up nothing. Not surprising, both Derek and Marie were experiencing high levels of paranoia. And 6 months after the letters started arriving, they decided to sell their dream home, which was really more of a nightmare than a dream at this point. During this time, when they were trying to sell the home, the Broaddus family had ended up suing the Woods for failing to disclose any letters that they had received. Side note, that lawsuit went nowhere. But a local reporter did find a copy of that complaint, and in that complaint it included parts of the letters that the Broaddus family had been receiving. And the story became viral, causing media to swirl around the house. When the story broke, the keyboard warriors were on full duty. While the family did get some positive feedback, there were many people talking about a possible hoax, possible scam, maybe buyer's remorse. They were even suggesting that the family wanted media attention. There was all kinds of stuff floating around. But now, due to all the rumors and the media attention about the property, buyers were hesitant. Because of the gong show circling around the house, the family was unable to find any buyers. And so they actually had considered selling the house to a developer who would tear the entire house down, split the property in two, and build 2 new homes. The planning board denied the request, stating that it did not meet mandated size regulations. See, each lot had to be a minimum of 70 feet, and splitting the property, it would only equal 67 feet. The family pleaded with the board. Speaking of years of psychological abuse that the family had suffered, Maria, still very and clearly upset, said to the board that, quote, "This is my town. I grew up here. I came back. I chose to raise my kids here. You know what we've been through, and you have decided this house is more important than we are," end quote. Even after hearing all the pleas, the board denied the request. They denied it over 3 feet. What's really interesting, a little side note, it was discovered that in 2018, the planning board approved splitting up another property that was like literally just around the corner. And that request had even more of an exception than what the Broaddus family had requested originally. So we know the exceptions could be made, but why? I'm just curious as to why in this case it was denied. Another letter arrived. Stop changing it and let it alone. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off bad names and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass, and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you to come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. They just keep getting better, don't they? Okay, so now we are in the spring of 2016, and it's been almost 2 years since the first letter arrived. The Broaddus family finally found someone to rent the home, but there was a clause in the lease. And the clause stated that they would be allowed out of the lease if another letter arrived. Well, wouldn't you know it, another letter arrived. To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria, 657 Boulevard survived all your attempted assaults and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers at the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire. Maybe something as simple as mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. bones break. You are despised by the house, and the Watcher won. Okay, so in this letter, it is really quite clear that the Watcher's tone has completely changed, and it's changed quite a bit. While they were all kind of creepy and disturbing, this one felt really angry. It felt bitter. And Derek did what Derek did. He took the letter down to the local police station, and once again, to no avail. They could not find anything. They were literally at a standstill when it came to this case. During this whole time, there were several people being investigated. There were people being interviewed, and the police were really trying, but literally nothing came up. They came up with nothing. 657 Boulevard was finally sold at a considerable loss. The Watcher has never been identified. Isn't that crazy? Alright, you guys, that's it. That's the end of the story. As of today, the Watcher has never been identified, has never been discovered. And from the research and stuff that I was digging into, apparently no other letters have arrived at 657 Boulevard. So what do you guys think of the story? Would you have stayed at 657 Boulevard, or would you have moved out? Let me know in the comment section below. That's it for me today. If you are enjoying true crime and like various different stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time I do a video, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Lots of love, hope, and prayers from Calgary, and we will chat with you later.